Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to SP Reviews. Today we're going to be checking out a track from an act named Flojo titled DTB, or as I understand it, Down to Business. And if we switch over to here, we have the track on our Music B here. We've got the single art here for DTB. We're listening through this track from start till finish. We're going to hear what we think. Let's go. Interesting tone to those drums, to be fair. Kind of a ballsy move just starting with drums, isn't it?
Let's chill out there. Let's celebrate what we didn't know that. I don't have no reason to complain. They don't want the love, but ain't ready for the pain.
It's so smooth. It's sultry, man. I wasn't expecting to kick in with the vocals like this, but it's silk, man. Those vocal harmonies and melodies, the sensuality of it, dude, damn. Great development with those synths there. And I can't get enough of how we have this new instrument, boom, 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 adding a little bit of color, a little bit extra oomph to it, bit of presence. When you stage these in even amounts of 4 to 8 bars, or even 16, you know, you never get sick of that theme. And those reverb tails on the main leads are just, beautiful. Did he say something along the lines of they don't want the love tonight because they ain't ready for the pain or something along those lines? Did that make sense? Bit of trepidation now. I mean, obviously it's vocal oriented, but I just love the space from the bass and the drums. And just, you know, this could probably be near as good a cappella. You know what I mean? I'm sure you could get someone to do the beatboxy parts. There's lots you can do with an arrangement, a song like this. But at the same time, I don't want anything to change about it. Oh, great chord change here, key change. A chord progression shift, should I say. A little bit of resolution there with that ascent harmony there. And we're just done. We just got the theme with the wiggly wobbly vibrato coming in with the... I don't know what kind of instrument that is. If this is synth or like a weird kind of modulated organ or something like that. Because this is the conclusion of my review of DTB by Flojo. My first interaction with Flojo. I have to admit it's stunning. What do I think the track is about? I reckon this track is about someone getting sort of intimate with someone else, kind of weighing up whether they really do want to sort of like get down to it, you know, like whether they'll be able to deal with the consequences of getting too attached, how they're making each other feel, etc. that intimacy, that curiosity, but also that sense of danger about it. The only reason I don't say sexy is because I'm not sure how YouTube feels about me saying that kind of stuff. Still figuring out what words you can use with YouTube, because there are some you can't use. You know, effectively, we have a musician here who really knows how to voice that story in a way where it sounds like they're actually having that conversation with you. It's so gentle and so direct and so personable, and it almost, you know, makes you want to be spoken to like that. I think when you've got like R&B and soul, that kind of vibe going on, that needs to come into it. You need that sense of romance, that sense of attraction there, that chemistry. It needs to come through both in the story and in the music and the performance, you know. And I think that Flojo, as a singer, vocalist, lyricist, absolutely smashed it out of the park, you know. It's different to a lot of stuff I usually listen to. The kind of staccato, those sort of melodic and harmonic sequences sung by the vocals as a backing for what was going on with the main part in the center was an interesting take. I'm not as used to that as I potentially would like to be, and the reason I say as I would like to be is because I'd actually like to listen to more music like this. Like, for real, it was refreshing and engaging because it wasn't something I was as used to. And again, maybe if you're more familiar with the genre, this is stuff that happens all the time, but I like the flexibility there of having the vocals cover half of the parts of the harmony. You know, we had a sense of minimalism if we go to the instruments and the arrangement, but the main motif, you know, the structure with the motif, you had a similar kind of dependence on that main sort of boom, 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 boom for most of it, with lots of different bits of articulation from developments later on. You know, the layering was phenomenal in the arrangement, but it's just to make that 2-note bass line so easy to follow. It's a fine line between making something simple and making something that people feel is, like, makes people feel either dumb or bored. And I think that we managed to avoid that here primarily because we didn't sort of falter too much in one specific aspect of the mix. We spoke our story, then went back into the chorus, and if we had an instrumental section, it was short, and there was never anything we were sitting on for too long. That 8th note drum groove there was, again, it was a minimalist approach, but it's all we really needed. You didn't want to have a lot of complexity when a lot of the focus again needs to be on the singing, on the story being told. There was like some articulation of synths or organs or keys or whatever up in the mid to high ranges, and some occasional arpeggios there, and that bass line was great as well. It followed the roots and did a little bit of exploring occasionally, but not much beyond that. And then the most magical thing about the arrangement itself was that sometimes we just completely took it away. You know, we weren't dependent on having that constant groove on the drums. We would just have little breaks here where we can appreciate the silence and the gravity of what's being spoken about. And I think that's a really smart move on the part of Flojo. It's just great. Again, with the first impression, especially with the track that's 3 minutes 13, you can never be too sure about how that time is going to be spent, because I've heard some tracks completely botch it up, either having too much or too little, or, you know, sometimes you get tracks which are full of lots of interesting elements that can be a little bit overwhelming. And ironically, sometimes you can have less, but then, like, again, you kind of click out 30 seconds into it. I will say that it was a ballsy move just having the drums start like that without any sort of like vocals or melodies or harmonies coming in beyond that. But I almost feel like it was Flojo testing the listener's patience a little bit, going, do you really want to be here? Do you really want to have this with me? Because if you want to have this with me as a musician with my music, you're going to have to wait 10-15 seconds for this drum beat to loop a couple of times. And I kind of dig that. I kind of love that decision making there. It's great. Again, when so many musicians are afraid of having 30 seconds or less of like intro core, quote unquote, just, you know, this was a good use of time, and I've got no real complaints about that. You know, we explored some of the key signatures and scale shapes a little bit before we move on to the production, but ultimately, again, the special elements of this track were firmly, I think, centered in the story and the vocals. You know, just how they managed to craft all that activity and energy together in a way that was interesting to listen to, relevant to the subject matter being discussed, and didn't overplay it. I think that's a talent. The production, recording, mixing, mastering was commercial grade. I've got no complaints about it whatsoever. You could hear this on radio. It could go wherever they wanted it to. The trick will be whether it does go wherever they want them to. And I do look forward to what Flojo does in future, primarily because the first impression with them had been so strong. The actual quality of the recorded vocals, how they sounded, was great, even before the mixing effects changed as such. But also, it was kind of unusual. Like, how do I describe this? There was such a pristine sense of how succinct everything was. You didn't get the impression listening to this track that we had massive reverb tails on a lot of these different instruments, so there's an airiness and a kind of space and a wistfulness and a mistiness to it. But it also felt like the instruments, conversely, in contrast, were there just to be there and to have that reverb be the sole focus. So we came in, pulled back, and then dum, bum, bum. It was a nice choice there. It's not something I hear often, but just props on using reverb like that, because it was quite a bit of reverb. But I think because it was maybe caked over the actual master mix channel or something like that, it was just stunning, man. No complaints about it whatsoever. It kind of sounded like you were surrounded by smoke, if that makes sense. Like you're in a dusty nightclub or something like that and having that point with them. Or if it is dusk and the moon is up, you know what I mean. It's an interesting choice we made there, and I kind of have a lot of love for it, to be honest, with Flojo's music here at DTB. The EQing of the various instruments was fantastic. They were nicely filtered and stacked in the mix. Things were spread lovely in a way that was phenomenal around the stereo field as well. You didn't just have everything to center. Each element had a place, and it was nice for things to go wide a little bit occasionally, just to get a little bit of earlobe tickling going on. And yeah, I think finally, despite the fact I talk about like the reverb channels and stuff like that on the vocals, I like the fact that the vocals were otherwise predominantly left alone. We got to hear the raw, unfiltered nature of Flojo's vibe. And I think that sometimes when you produce a track, if you overcomplicate it by maybe trying to make it sound too perfect, or if you remove the humanity from the performance, it can kill, especially in a genre like this. You really, genuinely cannot get away with taking the piss with like auto-tune and stuff like that. We obviously didn't have that here, and it would have been disappointing because I think Flojo is a phenomenal singer, and I think that they not only sang well, had the right notes, but also knew how to color in the book really well and add that sort of complexity to the tapestry without overstitching it. It was nice and loud without pumping. All in all, honestly, I've got nothing but love for it. And thanks for watching my review of Flojo's DTB. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go check out their various social medias, and I think they're beyond the digital streaming platforms. And stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as you need to help more than there with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I will catch you in the next review. Spiderhands Out.